go through and highlight the suffix able in each of these words. Now, able, when you can use to change a verb into an adjective, so do remember that for future usage. Now, able comes from Latin abilis, but it's changed through Old French to able, and we use the Old French version. So go through and highlight that, and anything else you can see within these words. Now, there's some tricks in here. So livable, the only reason the E is on the end of live is because English words can't end in V. So we don't really need to keep it here because we've got the able, but we do. Whereas down here in valuable, the only reason we have an E on the end of value is because English words can also not end in a U. But in valuable, we take the E away. So don't get tricked with those two in there. Now, suitable, we've got the UI for that U sound, which isn't very common. Fruit, suit, there's a few words with it in. In wash, remember you're using the A for the O sound there. After a W or a WH or a QU, we know we can use an A for the O sound. Available, you've got the AI making the wrong A sound. Now, miserable, ms. So you've got the S commonly making its Z sound there. So we know the S actually says Z more than it says S. So just be aware of that. Don't write a Z, write an S. Now, this word here, controllable, is really interesting. So in control, you've got a long O sound on the second syllable, and the emphasis is on the second syllable. So the British rule is that if the accent is on the second syllable, you double the L, whereas the American rule doesn't apply here. They don't recognise that rule. So if you were using American English, you'd have one L, but British English, you're going to double that L because the emphasis or the accent is on the second syllable. And that O changes from a long O sound to a short O sound because of that. So you're going to say controllable. So you're dropping that vowel sound to a shorter one. Now let's look at the meanings of these words. Liable means responsible by law or legally answerable. It can also mean something is likely to happen. Livable means acceptable. Suitable means right or appropriate for a particular purpose, person or situation. Washable means it's an adjective and it means able to be washed without damage. Available means accessible. Miserable means unhappy or uncomfortable. And if you're talking about food, it might mean that it's small or inadequate. Valuable is an adjective, and it means worth a great deal of money or extremely useful or important. As a noun, it means a thing of great value or worth. Comfortable means cosy or providing physical ease and relaxation, especially in relation to clothes or furniture. And it can also mean as large as needed or wanted. Controllable means capable of being directed or influenced, and it can also mean safely regulated or limited. Reasonable means fair and sensible. Right. Just remember that adding able to a base or root word can change a verb into an adjective, and it comes from the old Latin word abilis, but it changed to able in Old French, so we're using it on the end of each of these words to form adjectives. So we've got liable, livable, suitable, washable, available, miserable, valuable, comfortable, controllable and reasonable. So the ones we've highlighted to you yesterday are livable, where we leave the E in because English words can't end in V. Whereas invaluable, which also we use the E because English words can't end in U, we've taken out the E there. So just take note of those two because it's the same rule for the E on the end of both words, but it's applied differently. Now controllable, remember, the accent is on the second syllable, so that means we're doubling the L. That's a British rule, and if you're using American English, it wouldn't apply. So here we want you to write the antonyms, which mean the opposite to each of these words, and synonyms for these three given words. Fill in the gap with the missing list word, you can do that. Place an appropriate list word before each noun. So we want just the adjective that best goes with each of these nouns. Now use the list words in a sentence. You've got livable and miserable in one sentence and available and suitable in another sentence. Now, one meaning of liable is that it can mean something is likely in an unpleasant way. So we've given you an example. Overexerting yourself during exercise makes you liable to getting injured. So using this definition, use liable in a sentence. And then down the bottom, we want you to write 2 sentences using as many list words as possible. We've already discussed on day 1 and 2 that when we add able to the end of these words, we're forming adjectives. Now what we want you to do here is to take the words back, these adjectives back to their base word, and write the base words here. Then choose 2 of these words and use them in a sentence. Now, make adverbs of the list words by dropping the E and adding Y, then use them in a sentence. So you know when a word ends in ly that it's typically forming an adverb. So a handy thing to remember for your writing. Change the list word into a noun, then use it in a sentence. So have a look how we've done that change. We've given you the prompts. Just make sure that you follow them carefully and that your sentence is interesting. Now we're going to change the adjective into a verb. So have a think about how you're going to do that. And then fill in the gap with a base word in the correct tense. So make sure your verbs are all in the correct tense in each of those 3 sentences. Down the bottom, fill in the gap with a base, list or extension word. You're going to have to identify whether the word needs to be a noun, verb, adjective or adverb so that you give it the correct ending within each of those sentences. On today's activity, we're doing a review of capital letters. So complete the sentences. We use capital letters at the beginning of a something and at the start of something nouns. So circle the nouns which should be capitalised and insert the capital letter as well. So there's quite a few there for you to work through. Fill in the gap correctly with either able or ibble and proofread the passage for capital letters. Now there are some capital letters that are missing and some capital letters that we've put in that shouldn't be there. So you've got about 12 errors in capital letters. You're going to place able in 7 words and ibble in 6 words, and then you're going to write those words into their correct category down the bottom.